fact, I hadn't thought about making this video until I was halfway up an active volcano, and while my life was flashing before my eyes, I thought to myself, you know what? This is gonna make for some excellent content. Famous last words. You make your way through each section in complete darkness. It took over 14 hours due to a combination of unprecedented extreme winds. A few of the groups that were on this hike with us exhausted and had to turn back. It was at this point where I realized I could not physically go on. We are far more capable than we originally give ourselves credit for. And along the way up this volcano, I'm going to share with you 10 lessons of life success that emerged from this experience. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than my usual videos. I laugh now, but I promise it was not so funny at the time. So in today's video, join me as I climb to Bali's highest peak, the summit of Mount Agung, known to Indonesians as Gunung Agung, the Great Mountain, which is sacred to the Balinese as the navel of the world. Rising to a height of 10,000 feet above sea level, you'll see some of the most incredible views of Bali and its surrounding islands. And along the way up this volcano, I'm going to share with you 10 lessons of life success that emerged from this experience. Now, these principles are going to be relevant whether you're planning to summit Mount Agung or you're summiting any other kind of goal of yours. So you might be wondering, how on earth did I end up on this situation? See, for the past year, I've been living on this wonderfully diverse island, and everywhere you go, you have this beautiful view of this volcano rising above the rest of the island. It's the most dominant feature of the island, and I always thought to myself, I'm going to climb this thing one day. Now, I'm not a mountain climber or a technical climber, and honestly, I didn't think you needed to be. I mean, I'm on a tropical island. How bad could this thing be? I thought it was actually a hill. I didn't even know it was like a legit mountain. Now, if you are a technical climber or a pro hiker, you're probably thinking, come on, man, it's really not that bad. And you'd actually be pretty right. But in my naive defense, I thought I was signing up for a really long and mild hike. You know, something that would take about 8 hours to reach the summit and back. So I showed up at midnight completely physically and materially unprepared for what I was about to experience. And it was only after I got back from the hike, thoroughly humbled, that I kind of researched what Mount Agung climb actually entails. This is what I found.
American tourist dies during hiking of Mount Agung in Bali.
Tonight is towers of choking smoke in thick ash.
Yeah, this information would have been very useful before going. Unfortunately, I didn't research any of this. So here begins lesson number 1, and it may seem obvious, but please inform yourself on the field you are about to participate in. Now, in this case, you don't need to be a mountaineering expert to climb Mount Agung, but reading up ahead of time will prepare you for what is going to be a challenging climb. So before starting any initiative in the past, I would read up as much as possible on the landscape so I can understand the field that I'm about to enter into. I've started companies in the safety space, the security space, the mental health space, the technology space, and in none of these fields did I have any prior experience, yet they would go on to solve many real-world problems and serve hundreds of thousands of people and save lives. I certainly wasn't an expert when I started these companies in the beginning, but in the course of doing so and serving in this field, I certainly became one. This research allowed me to identify market gaps, opportunities, ways that I could provide an effective solution into the world. Now, in the case of summiting Mount Agung, I did no prior reading, no prior training. Again, I thought I was walking up a hill. Now, none of the agencies that you get in touch with in order to organize your hike, they're not going to really share with you about the skill level that you need or anything. They're just kind of going to be like, okay, here's your guide, show up at this time, come ready to go. And they might tell you a few things to pack in your bag. Let this be your warning right now. This is not your average hike. Again, I'm refusing to call it a hike. I'm going to call it a climb. So do your homework and read the fine print. Go in prepared, and your experience is going to be that much better because of it, and you might even enjoy it. So here's a quick cheat sheet. I wish somebody had made this for me before going up, and in case it's helpful to you, feel free to just screen cap it and use it for future reference. This takes me to lesson number 2, which is set your intentions and dedicate your efforts towards a higher purpose or God. See, Mount Agung is considered to be a sacred place to the Balinese, and according to Balinese mythology, Mount Agung was once a part of the holy mountain Meru, which, according to Hindu and Buddhist cosmology, is the spiritual center of the universe. It's thought to be the connection between heaven and earth. So before you climb Mount Agung, your guide is going to perform a ceremonial prayer at one of the entry points where you'll find a big temple. Similarly, before I start any initiative or even a coaching session with my client, a workshop, or a YouTube video like this, it's important for me to set an intention and a prayer. This sets a North Star for me, right? So I can center whatever I'm doing to a greater mission or purpose. For me, that is speaking the highest truth that I know, that I'm accurate and clear and able to share the love, the healing, and the hope when we center our lives according to divine love's principles. Now, when we set intentions and dedicate our efforts towards God or a higher calling, then we also get to draw on the infinite reserves of inspiration, creativity, and guidance that comes from rooting our purpose in a higher calling. As it says in Proverbs, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and God will establish your plans. Lesson number 3, take it one step at a time. My journey began at the Western Ascent at the ornate Pura Pasar Agung Sebudi Temple. Now, your guide is going to stop here to make some ceremonial offerings, so enjoy the short break as you're going to be going hard from this point out. And it can take anywhere from 8 to 12 hours depending on your starting point to get up and down, back down the mountain. Now, in my case, it took over 14 hours due to a combination of unprecedented extreme winds, the likes of which not even my guides had experienced in their many years of climbing this mountain, as well as unpredictable weather and also inexperience on my part. Just look at my face here. You can see the level of concern and intimidation written all over it. There are 3 main sections to this climb, and each are very steep. And while it may feel like it's very steep to begin with, it's actually going to get progressively steeper and steeper with each section until you reach the top. This mountain has 0 chill. This is us making our way through the first jungle section. Now, I'm trying to keep up with my guide who's done it so many times, he makes it look like a literal walk in the park. You make your way through each section in complete darkness on the way up, and all you have is your headlight. So all you can see is as far as your headlights will allow you to see. You can only take it one step at a time. In the case of Mount Agung, you don't know what you're climbing towards. Agung is just one void at this point. In life, as in this hike, all you need to see is as far as your lights or your sight can allow you to see in any given moment. As you make progress, more of the path will become visible for you. So you don't need to know every twist and turn ahead of time. Let this be a part of life's adventure. Take it one step at a time. If you think about how much further you have to go, what's around the corner, how much longer you have, how tired you are, you're going to become very discouraged. In fact, this is what happened with a few of the groups that were on this hike with us. Some of them got sick, some of them got disoriented, some of them got exhausted and had to turn back because of the extreme situations of this particular day, or because they also did not expect this hike is going to be as extreme as it was. To stay motivated, break down your goal into small steps. The journey becomes so much more palatable this way. And with each step, you're going to make some wonderfully steady progress. Demonstrations of this steady progress is going to give you the confidence you need to keep moving forward towards your goal. So the Mount Agung climb starts around midnight, and you go through the entire night into the next day. So you're going to be tired to begin with, and then you have the steepness, you have the increasing altitude, the decreasing oxygen. Trust me, you're going to be feeling all this within you. So lesson number 5 is to take frequent breaks. Catch your breath, mentally ground yourself, and refocus yourself, right? Take the opportunities you can. This applies to achieving your goals as well. There's going to be moments of deep focus, deep action, right? It's good to balance this activity with moments of rest and recuperation. Now, in my entrepreneurial journey, I witnessed many of my own colleagues suffer from burnout, exhaustion, or mental health effects from the whole hustle and grind mentality that's so prevalent in the field. I've even eliminated the words hustle and grind completely from my vocabulary because of the breathlessness and because of the deterioration that these words convey. I prefer meaningful, confident movement that's life-affirming. Now, nothing is worth compromising your inner peace over. If you don't have inner peace, then what do you have? What is worth compromising your inner peace over? So take rest as needed. It'll allow you to be mentally and physically fresh, where you can move forward with clarity, strength, and have your critical decision-making abilities recharged and intact for the next stretch ahead. Now, the guides know this, and thankfully, you're going to have specific points where you can take a breather. But if you need to take one at any point, don't hesitate to signal it to the guide. Lesson number 5 is this. It's take breaks as you need it to recharge, but also don't wait too long. And I'll show you how. Because here I am taking an extended break that lasted about an hour while the rest of the hiking group caught up. As it was very cold outside, my guide helped me make this fire to keep warm. And here's us sharing a coffee, and it tasted so good right now. I needed the taste of warmth and going through my system. And here's him handing me Gordy Oreos. So these are basically local Oreos. They taste the same as Oreos, but there's about 50% less cream inside, so they're basically 50% less fun. I'm just kidding. Anything anyone hands you on this mountain climb is going to be delicious because you are going to be starving with every step. So pack a lot more food than you think you need. Now, this break was too long. About 50 gory Oreos later, I found myself absolutely stiff from the cold. Cramps were setting in on my upper legs. Now, breaks are important, but if you sit around for too long, you're going to become too complacent, and it's going to be more difficult to find the rhythm that you had before. So my solution was to grab a wad of icy hot, start rubbing it into my legs while the rest of the group went ahead, wait a few minutes for this icy hot to kick in, and I was ready to proceed to the next section of the hike, which is section 2. It is the longest section. So as you make your way out of the jungle, you're going to have a clear vantage point. Face forward, and you're going to see a wall of rock you have yet to climb. And turn around, and you're going to start to see how far up you've actually climbed. You're going to start to see these twinkling city lights that extend all throughout the island. Yeah, you're pretty high at this point. Now, this portion of the climb gets a lot more rocky. And here I learned the 6th lesson of life and climbing, which is this: move forward only when you have established firm footing. Your movement is going to be most harmonious and sturdy when you are firmly and securely planted with one step before you take the next. Now, this is easier said than done because things are going to be very slippery up here. Much of the exposed rock are actually loose volcanic rocks. Sometimes you're going to take a step and realize there's not firm enough of a position here to carry your weight. It's going to feel unstable. Adjust your footing, take your next step, only when you feel confident at the level that you're on. Hiking poles are going to be your best friends at this stretch of the hike. Now, in life, it's also worth establishing a firm foundation before moving forward or taking on these additional responsibilities. Because without a firm foundation, you're going to risk toppling over and having to start all over again. The 7th lesson builds on this. See, the route pointers are very difficult to spot in the dark, and there's going to be far too few of them. Sometimes I reached out to grab a rock, only to find that the stone came right off the mountain as I grabbed it. So you don't want to lean in with your full weight unless you're fully confident this is a rock that's going to stay there. Or I set off in a direction thinking that this was going to be the best path forward, only to have my guide flashes light at me and saying, nope, go this way instead. So there was a way that appeared correct to me, But if I had taken that way, it could have led to some severe injury or even death. And this reminded me of a line from Solomon's Proverbs where it's written, "There's a way that seems right to man, but its end is the way of death." The solution that King Solomon provides is from Proverbs 3, where it's written, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." See, as we move through uncharted territory, we can be unsure of the next steps, right? Or which way to go. It can be confusing to us. It could be in navigating the new stages of a relationship. We're unsure what to do. It could be making a big professional decision, choosing a new job, making a big investment, or making a new hire. Whatever it is, when we submit our plans to God, we admit that we don't need it all. And this humility creates a space for inspired guidance or support to come through in different forms. Now, this can even reach us in the form of advice or guidance that others share with us if we are open to listening. And so this takes me to the 8th lesson, which is that we get to be humble and open to receiving wise instruction. Sometimes we feel supremely confident that we know the answer or we know the best path to take, right? I'm sure that's relatable to so many of you. So we end up ignoring the advice that people give us or deprive ourselves of the opportunity to receive wise guidance. Now, the risk of doing this is that you might have to learn a hard or painful lesson. Now, I'll admit, before I went on this climb, a few months ago, I remember a friend telling me about their experience on this hike and how it was the most difficult, physically demanding challenge, emotional catastrophe, tragedy. You know, they went on and on about how this was such a difficult thing. And I kind of tuned it out. I thought to myself, I'm physically more fit than this person. I'm sure I'll be fine. Famous last words, right? Famous last words, because what that person felt, I felt because I didn't listen and I didn't prepare myself accordingly. So when we move forward with humility and without making any assumptions, we are more open to being guided. And when you are perceived as being humble, others will even want to support you. They will want to see you succeed. So they will want to make sure you have the best information and valuable guidance at hand. In another proverb, I know, there's a lot of proverbs on this mountain for me. It says, "The way of the fool is right in his own ways, but a wise man is he who listens to counsel." Or, "Whoever gives heed to instruction prospers." Whoever gives heed to instruction prospers. I've seen many founders struggle or have to learn a very tough or painful lesson because they ignored a course of action that their advisors guided them towards due to lack of patience or pure arrogance. I've even been an advisor to an organization or a company where sage advice was ignored and painful lessons had to be learned by the founder, setting back much time, cost, and energy when they didn't have to go through all of that if they had just been open to listening, right? Why? Because I have done this before. I've been down a road that they haven't yet been through. It doesn't mean that I'm always going to be right? It doesn't mean that you always have to listen and that all your advisors are going to be always right. That's not the case. They're probably not going to be right 100% of the times. Founders or creative entrepreneurs, especially those who are starting new entrepreneurial endeavors, they have a higher level of acceptable risk. It's part of why they're successful. On important matters, however, it's wise to seek and examine the advice of those who are informed or have experience walking the path that you're currently walking on. After gathering your information, all the data points, you can then make a decision. Ultimately, the choice is yours. At several points on this climb, I realized I didn't have the technical know-how to determine which rock I should grab or which path I should take. My ego had to be put to the side. I had to call out to my guide who was just way far ahead of me and shout out, "Hey, which way? Which rock?" And he would then look back with his headlight and flash that headlight onto the rock or the path that I had to go on, and I would course correct my actions, right? In this way, I was able to move forward. It was a little bit slower, but I got to my destination. We don't take counsel from just anyone. But a guide is a guide for a reason. They've literally walked this path many, many times. In the same way, we turn to coaches, advisors, or mentors, and we trust them because they have already demonstrated success in a field that we would like to be successful at. And in so doing, we save time, we save energy, and we save money and avoid potential disaster on our way to the goal. So at this point in the climb, we are entering the final summiting phase, and this is definitely the most challenging part of the ascent, as the rocky edges are going to give way to some smooth rock formations, and you're going to need to get real grippy here. Now, this is me using all fours to stabilize my climb. At this point, it's about 5.5, 6 hours in, and here's an epic view of the reddish glow, the wonderful view of the sunrise starting to come up over the horizon. I'm still a little bit far from the summit, but I'm close. But it's just really stunning. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, maybe all of this ordeal would have been worth it once I see that sunrise in all its glory. So I started to scramble up. There's about 20, 30 minutes left in the hike before I get to the top. And then, ta-da, here I am at the top. Now, in this clip, you can see just how intense the winds are that morning. It was so intense that we all had a hard time standing up there without feeling like we're being blown around. You can only stand up there for a few moments at a time. You have to sit down. You can kind of see how tired and exhausted I am with the expression on my face. I'm so out of it at this point. Now, you want to be careful up there. There's very little space, so we all kind of had to huddle together. And for perspective, we're somewhere along this rim over here. People have fallen into this 900-meter wide crater, which, by the way, is still smoking. So you are going to become barbecue if you fall in there. And it's pretty eerie to see that when you're up there, right? You climb up there and you're like, wait, this is really an active volcano. And you're seeing it with the molten whatever smoke that's still coming out the top. Now, while barbecue does sound delicious up there, here I am settling in with another cup of strong Balinese coffee to stay awake and stay warm up there. The sunrise views from up here are absolutely phenomenal. You're going to be high above the clouds, and you're going to see 3 or 4 of the neighboring islands around you, each with its volcano peak. Some of them are even higher than the one that you're on, and so you're going to have this beautiful, majestic view with the sunrise, and you're going to see all these other incredible peaks. After taking in this view, I looked all the way down the mountain that I just climbed, and I saw this tiny temple at the base, and I realized to my utter amazement and astonishment that this is the very temple that we actually started from. And that amazement gave way to absolute horror when I realized that's the very temple I'm going to have to climb back down to. And if you know anything about mountain climbing or hiking, it's typically harder to go down. Now, I've been awake for about 24 hours at this point. Combined with the weather, the winds, and the fatigue, this was going to be a deep struggle, a 5,000-foot descent walking down these loose volcanic rocks. Knee pain has set in. My water is running low. This was not a fun part for me. Now, here's me taking a break, watching the clouds pass on by, and here's me sprawled out, completely laid out in exhaustion next to my guide, watching the monkeys and wildlife go by around us. At this point, we were under the cloud cover, and it actually started to rain pretty soon after I took this shot, and the phone went back in my bag for the rest of the trip. It was at this point where I realized I could not physically go on further with low water, sharp pain in my knees. Humbled and struggling, I called in for support. And this takes me to lesson number 9, which is this: ask for help when you need it. There is no shame in it. And accepting help from the right person or the right people will get you to your destination much faster than you could ever hope to alone. I went as far as I could on my own, but I needed the help of a helping hand to shoulder some of the weight because at this point I was limping along. Help arrived in the form of a second guide who happened to be the number 4 ranked champion of Agung climbers in Bali. Apparently there is such a thing. So if you're going to ask for help, let it be from someone you know who is in a position to help and who you actually will be able to trust to lean on. Now together we made it down the remaining few hours left in this journey. It was a painful experience, but along the way we shared jokes, we got to know one another, we made it a bearable experience for all. This call for help can even come in the form of a prayer. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run wild and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. As I walked with my walking stick, I imagined following behind God as my shepherd, leading me along green pastures and tranquil waters. This was a comforting idea for me. When we pray, we also agree with the divine idea that we are meant to claim dominion over our challenges and soar above them like an eagle. We also pray to reveal hidden sources of strength within us, that we are far more capable than we originally give ourselves credit for. Right? And in our anxiety and distress, we often overlook wonderful opportunities that are already in front of us. They're there to support us. Fear not, I am the one who helps you, says the Lord in Isaiah. I will make a way in the wilderness. A call for support to the divine can help activate untapped strength or intelligence or intuition, opportunities that we might be missing that are right in front of us. It shows us a clear way over, under, or through any situation that we may have previously found to be unsurmountable. And finally, we come to lesson 10, which is be generous with people, and they're going to be generous with you. My hike took a total of 14 hours and some change, right? This is well beyond what these guides are used to, and it was extraordinary circumstances. Along this journey, my guides and I shared snacks, we shared stories, sustenance with each other. We were a team. And at a certain point where I even had extraordinary difficulty, one of them took my bag, the other shouldered my weight completely as I limped back to the finish line. I was so grateful for this extraordinary care and support that I wanted to see them receive a handsome remuneration. Honestly, I'm completely indebted to them, so no amount of what I could give them could express my gratitude to them, but it was an amount that was sufficient to express immense, immense gratitude. And I really believe in giving good rewards. It doesn't have to be money. It could be your time, it could be your love, it could be your support, whatever you feel somebody will value, it can be that. But I have found that when your team feels appreciated, in small or big gestures of generosity, in recognition of good effort, or just in recognition of them being wonderful people, they will find a deeper sense of belonging as a part of a mission. And they will feel a sense of being refreshed and appreciated in this journey that they're taking with you. They know they are there for more than just getting a job done or just showing up for a paycheck. They feel appreciated for who they are and not just what they do. They feel seen. So as you're generous with your resources, your time, your attention, your gratitude, you will find that life will shower you as well with the same generous energy that you're putting out into the world. So generosity keeps the harmonious flow of vital resources and the sustenance of life and joy flowing. Hi guys, so I'm just gonna cut in right here because this is actually not the end of the video, because this is future post-edit me realizing that we actually missed number 4. So for those of you who watched this whole thing and were saying, hey, I think Samir missed number 4, I promise you I know how to count, but sometimes as a YouTuber, you realize later on that you made a mistake, and here is me cutting to the fact that in the title it says I'm going to give you 10 life lessons and I only gave you 9. So if there was a 10th one, or in this case a 4th one, it's going to be this: have fun, or at least try to. In those very challenging moments, whether you're on a mountain climb or whether you're pursuing a goal or you're building a company, whatever it is, we can be so consumed in the task that we stop having fun. And it starts to feel like work. It starts to feel like a deep challenge. It starts to feel stressful and anxiety-ridden. In those moments, can we decide to take a perspective that, hey, I chose to do this. Yes, even if you're in a job where you're an employee, you are still choosing to be there. You are still choosing to take that paycheck. So in those moments, for as long as we're there, can we choose to find the beautiful, the bright, the fun, the enjoyable moments to look at? So for example, even though this was the hardest physical challenge and so much of it was filled with pain, I got to pause and look around and think, wow, these are really beautiful views. I got to think, wow, these are really wonderful stories I'm sharing with my guides. I'm learning so much. Wow, look at this little monkey. This is a really curious looking fellow over here that's following us. That's really interesting. How can we introduce fun into our circumstances, especially when it might not feel so fun? Can we make it fun for ourselves? So, it's these moments of deep challenge that build for us the most character. It's these moments that are going to ultimately make us who we are. They're going to reveal our true strength to us. And it's these moments that are going to make the greatest stories. When you finish that finish line at the end of the day, or when you go through this experience to wherever it is that it needs to conclude, you are going to come away with a wonderful story that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. And it's these stories that make us who we are. Now, I couldn't be happy enough to be on solid, flat ground after 14 hours being on a mountain. And I was so happy. I came home. I did some breathing exercises to calm down my heart and my mind. My heart was just absolutely still beating from the adrenaline, and I passed out for the next almost 14 hours. And I could have slept more, but I had some worried friends that I'm extraordinarily grateful for calling me. And fortunately, I could not, I was sleeping. But I woke up to hotel staff banging on my hotel room door to check in on me. So it's 13 hours later, and I just woke up here in Sideman, which is about 45 minutes from the hike climb site. I shouldn't even call it a hike, it's a climb. I slept for about 13 hours, and it was absolutely refreshing. I woke up to a bunch of panicked phone calls. Will I do that again? Probably not. But anyways, I'm back. My spirits are good, and we press on. So there you have it, an adventure that in retrospect I'm glad I did, but that I'll happily never do again, at least not on this mountain. I hope you enjoyed the adventure and the life lessons, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, may peace and solid ground be with you. See you then.